Hey, what's up everyone? We got another dreary fall day here, and with that comes, of course, another nice problem we have to deal with. I don't know if you have a front door, side door, steel door, that all of a sudden decides it don't want to close. Door was pretty tight, and I guess too tight maybe, but in any event, it's a mystery as to what could have happened here. I don't know if the weather changed, some settling of the house. I've looked up several things, possibilities. My son could have been hanging on it for all I know. I don't know what the real cause of it is, but I know we have another problem to solve, and hopefully I'm going to help you do that today. I've done a bit of research, a couple of things that could be going on, but if you look closely here, you see this top hinge, and that should be touching. So it looks like it definitely spread, and I'm going to make up this gap if I can get that to close that gap. And this hinge attached to the door, the one that looks like it needs to go over, if you look right there, that should be close to touching. This hinge on the door is actually this one and this one. You can see that's attached to the hinge, the door side of the hinge. The other side is actually attached to the frame. If you look, the gap definitely gets tighter as we go down, and this hinge here, no space. Bottom hinge, the gap is pretty tight. That's the way it should be. Again, no space. So I'm not going to get into how to take the hinge off. We basically got to use something in here. I'm going to use a nail, try and tap up. Maybe have to use a flathead screwdriver and pull these pins, pop up and out. I'm going to probably start on the bottom so the top is holding the weight and keeping the door tight. Either way, the door is probably going to be pretty heavy, and it's not going to be easy one man job. It's going to be some muscle work, but it looks like we got another problem solved. I'll get back to you once the door is off the hinges. This is actually all the tools you're going to need for this one, folks. I like to call this one a pajama job. You basically could do it in your pajamas if you really wanted to. It's going to require a little bit of sweat, you know. Nothing's easy, but you're going to need a hammer. Actually, this didn't work out too well. This was recommended from another video. They said use a crescent wrench. I tried an adjustable. I don't think it was the adjustable flexing. I think it was more, I needed some more leverage. So the whole idea is get something that you can crimp down on the hinge without really making damage on it. As you can see, the channel lock's got some teeth. So as you're pushing or pulling, trying to bend the hinge, you know, you could put damage on your hinge. If you're worried about that, concerned about that, you don't want to use something with teeth. But basically a channel lock's something you can grab the door hinge with and apply pressure to bend. A nail, I used a roofing nail, regular roofing nail. So, you know, something with decent enough thickness, and so that it won't bend. A light if you know you have a dark spot in that area, just to see the hinge. And obviously the hammer, you're going to be tapping the pins out and in. And that's it. Just a couple of simple hand tools, a few minutes of your time, and you can solve another problem yourself. Get the satisfaction of knowing you did it right and not have to wait for anyone, ask anyone for any favors. Well, I'm going to show you here what I decided to do. Again, another tip I've learned from another video. I got a channel locks here, and it's actually a roofing nail, but pick a nail with a good sized penny nail, you know, sturdy enough, thick enough, where if you tap on it, you know, it's not going to bend. But channel locks, hold the nail, you want to put it on in here, in the hinge, just make sure you're just touching really the pin there, and then you tap up with a hammer, the bottom of the nail, or even on the channel locks, and that'll start to loosen the pin. When the hinge pin is up, you know, a little bit, probably as long as the nail, it still might be too tight, as the case of mine. Too tight to even pull up by hand. You don't want to deform the top of it, obviously. You don't want to bang it and bend it. So nice easy method is, again, channel locks, you know, hold right under there. You don't have to put too much pressure, but just hold it. And then, see if I can do this one hand. You just want to tap on the bottom of the channel locks, and that'll pull the pin right up and out. So I'm going to do that on all three. The door should pull off. A little tip just from experience, working on old stuff. Generally, it's a good idea if you're disassembling and putting something back the same way it came off. It's a good idea to keep parts in the same spot, location where they came out of. Definitely a tip that'll save you a lot of headaches. Things over the years, they sort of form into their own little spot, and it'd save you a lot of trouble. Something that you know belongs in a certain spot, but it's just not going. Put a little chart, a little table or whatever, piece of paper that shows the position, and then lay the pins out on it, and you should have less issues when it's time to put everything back together. So what I actually have to do is bend this hinge down. Bending it, I'm talking down in the orientation I have the door right now on its side. I got to bend it down, and that will bring the door in and close that gap that we saw before. I'll show you once I do it. I'm going to put a pin in this bracket in these two hinges to keep them true, and I'm going to bend down towards the floor with the channel locks. I tried the crescent wrench. It just doesn't seem to have the leverage, and it keeps slipping, so I don't know how well that would work for you, but for me, I'm going to go with the channel locks, and I'll show you that in a second. Nice and tight on the hinge. I'm going to try and apply pressure and bend it down. We go to this one, do the same thing. And it is tough. And I don't want to go too much. And I'll get back to you with the result. Okay, as luck would have it, 3 times really is a charm, of course. I'd do a secondary, third adjustment, but eventually, as you can see, no problem, no hit, nice, still a little gap there in fact. I'm going to call it perfect. You can go up here, you can see, no, the gap is closed significantly. It is going to be tougher, of course, to get the pins back in. Little trick, get the bottom, if you're doing this yourself, it's a pain in the ass. Get the bottom pin hinge set straight, put the pin in, and then work your way up to the middle, get that one in, and then you're going to have to finagle the top, work it around, push, press, pull, and tap. But you can see that the gap is definitely where it should be. It's pretty even all the way down, and most important of all, door closes nice and tight, no hit. So it looks like it works. Again, I'll go over the tools in the description. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned, subscribe if this helped you. There's plenty of problems to solve, and I hope I can help you solve them. See you next time. I just thought I'd show you this in case it wasn't clear. You want to close this gap, right, on the hinge. So only these two are connected to the door side of the hinge. Obviously, when you pull this pin out, these two come off with this hinge on the door. So in order to close this gap, you want that gap under there to be tighter. So you always have to bend this part of the hinge towards the door. So that's a good way to remember which way you have to bend it. Go towards the door, and that'll bring in the gap.